Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Thanks for tuning in to our seller interview series. Today we've got an Amazon Associates display ads and affiliate business for sale in the home niche. Created in October 2018, this business makes an average of $1,304 per month in net profit, and the listing number for this business is 51703. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the asset they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller with us today to go through the business and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. So thanks for coming on, Sal.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here. Before we get started, I'm going to go over a quick summary of the business. So this business was built in October 2018. This business has an average monthly revenue of $1,389 and is producing an average net profit of $1,304. And that is based on a 5-month average. Included in the sale of the business are domain and all site content files. Now that we've got the intro out of the way, let's dig into the interview questions. So, Sal, can you tell me a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Well, I got interested a few years ago, kind of randomly. I saw some video on YouTube. I didn't really know much about affiliate marketing. In fact, I knew nothing about it, and it just kind of sparked my interest. Went on Reddit and did some research and kind of became part of a community there, learned a little bit about it, and decided to just start a site without really knowing what I was doing, and didn't pick a particularly good niche or anything like that. And after a couple of years, I felt like I kind of had some experience under my belt, and just kind of it snowballed from there, basically.
Awesome. What about this site in particular, the one that you're selling? How did that one come to fruition, and how'd you come up with the idea for this business?
Actually, I had sold that other site and decided I would start another one, and was actually having trouble finding a good niche to pick. I wasn't sure. I was having that kind of analysis paralysis type of situation. And randomly, one of my son's friend's fathers is an engineer for the product that's part of what the niche is about. And I didn't know anything about it, and he was telling me what his job was. And I said, that's interesting. And so he told me a little bit more about how the product works, and that's when it kind of clicked. I said, okay, I'm going to check this out. And so I did my background research to see what the competition was like in the niche, what the potential was for content, like how much content I could do about it. And it looked really good to me. I just jumped in without really knowing much about it. And it's kind of branched out. It's not just one specific type of product now. And I've got like a kind of a brandable domain name for that reason, just in case. I wanted to kind of put some content up and see how it went. It didn't look like that was going to be the thing I had room to maneuver. And I ended up with the kind of a general umbrella for the niche, and then had different types of categories that still fit within the main kind of idea of what it would be about, with different products for different things. So it's kind of evolved a little bit over time.
Okay. It sounds like you've really built this out. We've talked a little bit about, the niche and why that's working for this business. Now I'm wondering, you've got several different monetizations coming through and sort of working in tandem on this business. So you've got your display ads, affiliate, Amazon Associates. Can you just break that down for me? How this business is primarily making money, say which one of those monetizations are leading the pack, and just spell that out for me a bit.
Well, the Amazon Associate is the biggest driver of revenue. I started it with that kind of in mind because, unfortunately, with this product, most people will buy it at their local, like Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. It's a home improvement type of product. So really the only other way to get it is by Amazon. There wasn't a lot of opportunity to find another affiliate program. So I kind of started out thinking I'll start it as Amazon. It's easy. It's a good way to make money quickly on an affiliate site because, some of those other programs, you really have to be dialed in with traffic and an email list and things like that. So I thought, well, this is a way I can kind of start making some money before I have all that stuff in place. And so I started with that in mind and then hoped that later on I'd be able to branch out. And that's what I did. So once I got to 10,000 page views a month, I signed up with Ezoic and was accepted there, and it took right off. This was before COVID, of course. It was consistently getting 30 to 35 RPM. I was doing really well, considering the traffic that I had. In fact, I was so hopeful that I thought that I would make the kind of switch away from Amazon more towards display and then hope to find other programs, basically grow the traffic and get into some other programs. So I did get into another program with Linkshare Rakuten, and it's kind of spotty. It's still hit or miss there because, again, you have to be very focused on, if you're not doing Amazon, you have to have a system in place, which I still don't, to be honest. So I'm doing a little bit there, and RPM has dropped considerably on Ezoic because of COVID, but it's still very respectable. It's like $15 to $20 RPM. So it does pretty well. There are other programs for other products, and so I've been experimenting there. And if I were keeping the site, and I would try to grow the traffic and try to get into some bigger programs to make more money. Not that I would abandon Amazon, but I would want that to be kind of part of it, but not the main driver of revenue.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I've got a question. We'll circle back at the end and talk more about those, what you would do to grow the business if you're keeping it. But before we get there, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about why you're selling the business instead of, say, keeping it and growing it.
I got really busy with life in general over the last 6 months, and I haven't been able to maintain it the way that I wanted. Part of the problem is that I was also doing all the content myself because I tried outsourcing, and honestly, I get a lot of feedback from the readers. I get a lot of questions, and people have really looked to me like a resource. And so when I was trying out some writers, it just wasn't up to my standard. I wanted better content, and so I just kept writing it myself because I felt like I owed it to the people reading my articles. I wanted it to be informative and helpful and also nice to read. And so I'm a native speaker. I thought that was the best approach. So when I got busy, I wasn't able to maintain that. Now I'm buying a house, and it's quite a fixer-upper, and so I need some extra money just to have for some of the repairs that the house needs. So I decided, since I haven't been maintaining it and it's been a consistent earner, I just feel like this is a good time to sell it, use the money for something else. And then I have another site that I've been working on. I'll focus on that next.
Okay. Definitely sounds like a good plan. I know we talked a little bit off air how you're renovating kind of a dream home at the moment.
Yeah.
So living vicariously through your adventures. It's awesome. I think you just hinted to this a little bit in terms of finding those writers. And obviously it's not always like an immediate match with their ability to match what you can do as a writer. So one of those things, one of those lessons you learn along the way. I was wondering, is there anything else that you've learned about running this business that you'd apply to your future sites or businesses? What did you find that just seemed to really work for you?
Well, I'll kind of go opposite of the question and still bring it back to the outsourcing. What I've learned is you really do have to outsource. You just can't do it all yourself. I have a site that had a lot of potential here that if I had outsourced successfully, it would be a much better earner than it is now. I tried to do everything myself, and it limited my growth. And so that was a big mistake. So the reason I kind of gave up on trying to find the writer when I wasn't finding what I was looking for was a mistake. But the problem was that I figured the time that I just spent trying to find this writer, I could have written 3 articles basically, so it was just so much time invested that it just got to a point where it seemed like it wasn't worth it. However, that was a mistake because you have to take that time. It's worth it. You have to do it. You have to put in the time to find the right person or people that are going to get the job done, because if you don't, then you're just not going to grow. So that's the biggest lesson that I've learned out of this whole experience. Aside from that, what was working was not writing for Google. Even though I definitely, when I research an article, I have SEO in mind. I'm trying to find opportunities for quick traffic if it's possible. Doesn't always work out, but it has for a lot of the articles that I wrote, that it didn't take too long to start getting traffic. So I think when your approach for content is that you try to be helpful and you actually are answering questions and you're providing a resource for people, even if you're not an expert, if you know more than, or even if you don't know, if you're able to put on the screen more than what somebody out there knows, then they're going to look to you for help. And if you can provide that help, then you're going to have a successful site, no matter what. I didn't focus on any backlink campaign because I just thought it was too time consuming, and the backlinks just happened on their own because people share the articles and they just came, because I think that the content was very good. So those are the main lessons that I've learned. Outsource, find the right people, take the time to find the right people, and write content that is actually helpful. Don't just regurgitate what the top posts say. Really dig into the research and find some angle. If you approach the content like somebody that doesn't know about the subject, then you're going to be able to speak to those people that don't know about the subject in a way that they understand. So I'd say those are the two biggest things.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's definitely bringing a human element into that, right? You can't just put on your SEO hat and go, well, Google wants these words. It's like, whether you like it or not, it does help you and benefit your site to bring a little bit of almost soul to it and answer those questions, like you said. So very, very good advice. Switching gears here, let's talk about traffic a bit. So where does the majority of your traffic come from?
Almost all of it. And again, I think this is not necessarily a good thing, but almost all of it is from search, mostly Google, also a little bit of Bing. But I didn't ever really do any social media kind of promotion. So I get some shares here and there, and that brings like a trickle of traffic. But it's almost all direct and, from repeat visitors and Google, like SEO, search. So yeah, I just basically just tried my best to write a good article that would satisfy Google and at the same time the reader. And so it kind of worked, and it brings in pretty much all the traffic. Again, if I were going back to do it over again now, I would incorporate more social media in there, but I didn't really care to because it doesn't convert or anything, but I think the better approach is to kind of build it as a brand and not think so much about conversions and more about like trying to get people to, I would have an email list too. And so I would want to bring people in to kind of sign up for an email list and be part of like a community on there, basically.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Where your growth opportunities are, we'll talk about that next, but actually gearing that towards what is going to work for the site and what's going to work for your niche. You can't just say, I'm going to put up some social and like that's going to be the golden ticket here and that's going to really work. Like you don't think it's going to convert, it's not going to convert.
But at the same time, you can't put all your eggs in the Google basket either.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Well, so on that note then, if you were to keep the business, what are some ways you try to grow it? I think the email list is actually a really good note, so maybe we can talk a bit more about that. But are there any other ways that you would try to strengthen the site or grow it in some way?
The first thing that I would do is, I'm not very good with kind of the technical aspects, like technical SEO or even just maintaining the site. I mean, I've done what I can. I tried not to use too many plugins, and I learned a little bit of CSS and HTML to be able to kind of create my own codes to do tables and things like that. So what I would do is hire somebody to kind of go in the back end and just kind of see what can be done, because honestly, I don't even know. To get the site faster, to see if there's any kind of, it looks clean back there. Maybe they could just clean it up so that way it just works better as a site. Because it kind of grew organically, I didn't have a big vision on how it was going to work as a site. I think I would try to improve the user experience a little bit, and that would include some back-end stuff as well. That would be the first thing that I would do. I would hire somebody just to kind of take a clinical look at the site and the back end. And then after that, I think it would just be basically doubling down on what I've already been doing, which is just get the content going, good content. Again, I would outsource, and so I'd want to have more of a consistent publishing schedule where I'd be able to at least get a couple of articles out a week. I would edit them myself to make sure that they're good and then publish it. And so I would definitely really focus on the content more than anything at this point. And then try to incorporate some social media traffic coming in for the traffic too, because Ezoic does pay very well. So the more traffic, the more money I'm going to make, even if they're not converting into sales on, for an affiliate offer or anything like that. And again, the email list I think is essential. And I just had trouble I didn't realize that there'd be much of a community really with the site. And I found, because I get so many comments on the articles and also emails, like people will email me asking for advice and things like that. So I really feel like the audience would be well served by an email list too. So if I grew a list, I would have people on it that would want to be on it because they want the information. And I think that would provide a really, really good of converting people and to basically monetize the email list to make even more money, and at the same time helping the audience. Those are the main things that I would do right now. I don't really think I'd have to do much more than that. If somebody wanted to take on, building out a backlink profile or something like that, I think that would definitely help. But if I were keeping the site myself now, I probably wouldn't focus too much on backlinking.
Yeah, I think what you said there, you just made a really good point. I had just been on another podcast interview talking about the concept of, creating a fan base and having something that people want to come back to. And it sounds like, because you've worked so hard on the quality of the content and you're really going in and answering questions on, what is more or less like a specialty home good. I mean, people have questions and they want to come back and they want to build that relationship naturally. So I think it's an interesting quality for your site in particular, because not everybody quite has that, like something that people genuinely rely on and would really actually want to engage with that email list in that way. So it's great. I think that's a selling point really for what you've built.
Yeah, at the same time, there might be some people that say, well, I don't know anything about this product, so I don't want this site if I have to deal with all this. I want it to be passive. The other thing is that if you really just want it to be passive, it can be passive. You shut the comments off if you want, and just build an email list just to promote something, then it'll work for that too. So I think the nice thing is for somebody that really wants to take on an authority type site, make this an authority type site, it has roots for that. It has a great foundation for that. And at the same time, if somebody wants just let me put some content up and just build out a backlink profile, then I think that works too. My personality is one that wants to help. And so that was my approach, but it doesn't have to be everybody's approach.
Okay. I think that's an excellent point. It's basically like, this business would work for a range of buyers, whether they really want it to be more active or more passive. Those options are there, which is great. Now, switching gears a little bit here, we do have to talk about the risks. Obviously, every business is going to have risks. So what would you say are the biggest risks with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
Well, the biggest risk is Amazon. The site was really taking off, just before COVID hit. I was really poised to have it make quite a bit of money. And then Amazon slashed the commissions, and it took a while to build that revenue back up. And it did build back up. I'm making about what I made last year before it all kind of fell apart. But there's always a risk that Amazon is going to do the same thing. They could just get rid of it completely. Who knows, So even before that Amazon cut their commissions, my plan was to move away as much as I could from Amazon. And so it just confirmed that that was the right. So that's what I started doing about a year ago. And so the major risk is that Amazon is going to cut commissions again. But like I said, the ad rates are very, very good in this niche in general. The home improvement is pretty good, but especially with the products that are being promoted, they're high ticket items. And so it gets good ad revenue. Even though Amazon could be the risk, I don't feel like it's that big a deal, because I think everybody should start with Amazon and then move on at some point anyway. That should be done no matter what. So after that, I don't know. Google can always come up with an update. But again, if you're just trying to write for people and not like trying to take any shortcuts with any black hat kind of stuff, there's no PBNs on this site or anything like that. So if somebody's going to do it like in a kind of organic and natural way, I don't think that would be much of a risk that Google would punish the site. So I don't know. I'd really say that the only risk right now is Amazon. I don't see any other problems coming down the line.
Okay. I think those are all really good points. Now, earlier you were saying it sounded like you hadn't spent a lot of time on the site recently. Could you tell me a little bit more about, the type of work you do on this business for maintenance, or maybe what would be like a normal amount of, say, time or effort you'd spend on the site if you were, maybe working on it a little bit more regularly?
Actually, something I kind of forgot about what I would do if I was going to keep it is I do go in and update some of the content. So I do go back to articles. One thing that I do that I might spend maybe 2 hours a week doing is going through the Google Search Console and see if there are keywords that I haven't hit that are relevant to a certain article that it's getting impressions for, but no clicks necessarily. So I'll take a look at that. And if I see some that look interesting, I'll go back to an article and make sure that I either get a section in there that covers that topic or kind of works that keyword in there in some way. So right now, that's pretty much all I'm doing is just kind of updating and just making sure it's working. I make sure that the links work. It doesn't go to a 404 or anything like that. Just keep an eye on the traffic just to make sure that there's nothing happening that I'm not aware of. So even though I'm not adding a lot of content, I'm still making sure that the site is chugging along the way that it should. So I spend maybe 5 hours a week on it right now, and that's about it.
All right. So, it sounds like it's right now pretty much reached a somewhat passive point. For somebody coming in, say, not familiar with this niche or business model, would you say there's any skills or requirements they might need to take over this business?
I think being good at research is a really fundamental skill if you don't know much about the topics, because they're products that people really need. And if you're going to be trying to get them to buy and then just you don't care what happens after that, I don't know. I'm not sure you do really well with the site. I think you'd have to really make sure you understand what the products are, how they work. You don't have to have an in-depth knowledge, because I knew literally zero about these products. I didn't even know what it was when I first heard about it. So some of the other products that I branched out into, I've had some experience with, but so does just about everybody. I think that if you can really research something well and really get into the nitty-gritty of what somebody needs to know if they're going to be searching for these products or information on them, then that I think is the key thing. Aside from that, I don't think you need any technical skills or anything like that. I think you just need to be a good researcher and a good editor if you're going to outsource, because you want to make sure that what you're putting out there is correct. Because if it's not, you're going to hear about it, because I have made some mistakes, with some of the things that I've said or recommended, and people have said, well, I got that thing off of Amazon and it wasn't what you said it was. So it has happened, and so, you want to know at least something. That's my advice.
Great advice indeed. So how much support are you offering buyers?
If they want to email me for up to 30 days, and if they have any questions, I'm more than happy to help. I'm not sure how much help I can really give, but if they have questions, they can email me anytime. I would do a couple of Skype calls too if they needed to, just to ask some questions. Especially early on, I'm sure they're going to want to know how to do the research or what my process is or something like that. I'm more than happy to help with that. I could even, at least the first 30 days, because I am kind of busy, if they had somebody that they having writing for them, if they wanted to send me some drafts to see what I think of the quality of the content, then I would be able to do that. In fact, I would even say one of the things that I would definitely give them is sort of a template on how to kind of draft an article, to post. So that way they can kind of see and kind of keep the same flow. So that way the content is more consistent. So I definitely would do that, and if they have questions about how to research or anything like that, whatever their questions are, they could email me anytime for, I'd say, a month.
Sounds great. It's good that you're helping them with some of those, those pieces to help the transition go more smoothly. Would you commit to a non-compete?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't want to get back into this niche anyway. Not that I don't like it, but, I have that shiny object syndrome very bad. So, I'm ready to move on and do a different topic now, something that's completely different. So I would sign an agreement if they wanted.
Awesome. Yeah, totally can empathize with that, the shiny object syndrome. That's the beauty of online space. There's a lot of things you can do at all times. So this is my final question. Putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying?
Well, I think because it was made in an organic way. It was just made by a regular guy that didn't even know what he was doing, and it worked, So there's nothing kind of behind the scenes that somebody might have been like, there's no black hat stuff, I didn't have some kind of shortcut that I took. Once somebody takes it over, I'm going to pull the plug on that or anything like that's not going to happen with this site. And so it's something that somebody with a little more experience than I, or somebody that has more time to dedicate to it, or money to outsource, or whatever the case may be, I think they have an excellent foundation for something that can really grow into something special if they really wanted it. If they want to make an authority site out of this, it has all of that potential. So to me, it's like, it's something that I would look for if I were in the market for a site right now. This is what I would want it to be. I think the main reason that it's a good value. I think it's a great value, actually. And not just because I'm selling it. I think I would want to buy from somebody that had the same approach that I did, because I know that it was made in the right way. It might have had a lot of mistakes made along the way as far as the potential, like I said, no email list and things like that. Those were mistakes, but there was nothing on the site that I regret at all. And so I think somebody taking it over would appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's very well said. I mean, it sounds like everything you've put together, there's a really great foundation there, and it can continue. The things that you weren't able to do right now is just a stepping stone, within reach growth opportunity for a buyer. I definitely think that what you've put together, it's in a good place. That's pretty much all my questions for now. I don't know if you feel like I missed anything. No,
I feel like we covered everything. I would just say whoever buys it, that treat it nicely. It's my baby for a while, and, I'm sad to see it go. So please take care of it.
Oh, absolutely. No, we hear that often. And I'd say that a lot of buyers who come to our marketplace definitely get the sense of that, or understand they want to continue on raising the baby into something else a little more grown. So, well, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Sal, for coming on. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how your deal plays out, and rooting for you in the process.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, awesome. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To check out more details on this business or to unlock the listing, visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 51703. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, click the link in the description or go straight to the listing. By unlocking the listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about the business and can start your due diligence. Until next time.